Daniel Corliss. I work in healthcare. I've been on just about every side of it for the last 11 years. I am now, oh, there I go. I think you can hear me a little better. So I'm now a venture capitalist. I'm also an angel investor. And then I'm going to invite the panel up here. Guys, go ahead and come on up one at a time and go ahead and take a seat. I think we're waiting on one or two more, right? Can't take that off now. All right, I think this is the last one, and we'll get going. So we're here to discuss advancements in healthcare. There are a lot of advancements happening, obviously. First, I want to go around and introduce each of the panelists one by one. We'll go ahead and start right here. Go ahead and take a minute and let everybody know who you are.
My name is Scott Hardy. I'm a pharmacist by training. In my heart, I'm a teacher. Can you hear me okay? It's on? Nothing?
Scott Hardy's mic needs to be turned on. Somebody can hear me in the back.
Testing. We're live.
We're here, fine.
I get a second chance. My name is Scott Hardy. I am a pharmacist by training. In my heart, I'm a teacher. I truly love to just help move the needle. I've been a pharmacist for about 20 years, and through that didactic training and experience, I extrapolate those skills to help me with what I call my 3 superpowers. Number 1, building amazing teams. 2, using data, be it financial, looking at the P&L, statistical analysis to really drive practice and help others become the best version of themselves. I've had the great opportunity to be surrounded by great individuals, had the great opportunity to really be on the forefront of technology, and really my passions are from an operations level, regulatory, really understanding pharmacy, PBM, specialty. So excited to be here today.
Thanks, Scott.
Great.
We'll go ahead and go over to Ivo.
Yep. Hi, I'm Ivo Lucas. I am a serial entrepreneur, also an angel investor, and we invest in 4 different pillars, actually: education, healthcare, and also technology, and also CSR. So during the day, I'm also CEO and founder for 24 Notion. 24 Notion is actually an integrated marketing agency that focuses on giving back. So we're number 12 in the global CSR. And I'm excited to be here to share some of the knowledge and also learn more about you guys.
Thank you. Martin, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Martin Robinski. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Board's Eye. Our passion at Board's Eye is actually helping companies, and this is across any industry, but we help companies build out board of advisors and board of directors at pretty much any level, from startups all the way through public companies. I'm also an early stage investor and a book author. I have a book coming out in August called Corporate Matchmaker. So glad to be here. Looking forward to learning from everybody here, especially on the panel.
All right. Thank you. William?
Thank you. My name is William Thesling. I have a doctorate in electrical engineering from Cleveland State University in Cleveland, Ohio. Specifically, my area is digital communications. After I graduated from school, I was involved in a startup that I was one of the co-founders of. We exited that after about 10 years. That office is now the Cleveland office of Viasat, which you might have heard of. Since that time, I've done some other activities as co-founder in an investment corporation. We do angel investing, and we partake in some of the angel funds in the Cleveland area, and a variety of other things. In the Cleveland area, some of the opportunities are with respect to the medical space, often outside of the Cleveland Clinic. So I'm excited to be here and learn some things. So this is it's like an opportunity to try to give back. So thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, Michael, go
Hi,
ahead.
I'm David Imada. I was here 2 years ago. Some may remember me. I work for Edward Ventures. We're a venture capital company. Serial entrepreneur, co-founder of 2 startups. We invest in early stage, high tech, but across many industries. And we've added a new wrinkle to our portfolio. We brought our iPod robot in exhibition room. So come by, take a selfie. It's good for education, autistic kids, you name it, but have some fun. I'm also here to learn. Met a lot of people last time. We invested in a few. Some didn't work out, but that's part of the game. So if you have any ideas you want to talk to me about, I'm also going to be a pitch judge, so come see me anytime. I'll be here for 3 days. We're glad to talk to you guys. I do live here now, so if you want to stay after, if you're staying over, we can even talk during the weekend. I'm available. So thank you again. Looking forward to talking to everybody.
Thank you. And last but not least, I'll finish up with mine. So again, Daniel Corliss, healthcare professional. I represent a couple different companies. I have a general agency, so I build health plans nationwide, different ecosystems, different regions, and sort of act as a general agent to brokers and health plan consultants. I also have a core agency, but outside of that, I work for and represent a venture capital fund called Expert Dojo. We're the third most active and most prolific VC fund in the United States. We also invest internationally. So we have a lot of interest in Africa, Europe, South America. We also think that the future is colorful and the future is female. So our goal and our passion is to invest in minority-owned startups and minority founders and female founders. We think we need a lot more than that from a social equity perspective. So that's a little bit about our ethics and our principles as a VC fund. I'm also an angel, and I'm also developing a family office fund as well. So exciting things happening for me personally. I'll go ahead and kick it off. So we're here to talk about healthcare and advancements in healthcare. Really exciting stuff. So one of the things that I think is timely, and I hope you all agree, is protecting PHI and HIPAA data. Right now we're seeing large amounts of hacking going on. So not only like what we saw in the oil pipelines, there was a meat company, a meat packing plant, I think, that was hacked. It's just happening more and more often. But what you don't hear about is the hospitals and the providers' offices that are being hacked and being breached every single day. So it's becoming more and more important to protect that data that we hold so near and dear, which is our health data. Very important. So I wanted to open it up to anybody out here to kick it off. So who wants to kind of jump into that topic and share your thoughts on how we can better protect that data today?
Let me start by explaining something that I'd learned to talk to people. So I didn't realize that when people hack your medical insurance or medical records, they're not just saying the data, but I was told they could set up phony offices through our conversation and do fraudulent insurance claims that cost the government and us a lot of dollars. And that's something people don't understand. They just think about, the privacy of our protection, our records, but it's opened my eyes that they monetize it, and I didn't realize that. So that's something that people should understand, and not just staying in records, but affecting us from tax purposes, raising doctors' rates, insurance rates, everything that happens. So whatever technology we can come up with, to me, it's a combination of AI blockchain, some good firewalls, but not only firewalls, but other cybersecurity, early threat detection, mitigation, finding out, for example, third-party portals that people could actually come through. A lot of people don't realize they got subcontractors. They leave the password open, they got access and they think it's safe. It's not. So that's to bring that up to everybody's attention. There's a lot of things. But I think a combination of, you can't just be one. Yes, I'm glad the big companies spend a lot of money, and it's hard to change because you invest a lot in one platform. But you should, like I said, even try some of the startups. They're really good, cost effective, because we find in startups and give them a chance. But a lot of times only the big players get it. So I'm again saying that for everybody's protection, give people a chance because they got really good innovative technologies. I know some of us invested in it. So.
Absolutely. Does anyone else want to add on to that?
I mean, I'm definitely not a health expert as far as that industry, since we cover a lot of industries. But one question that I would throw out there is, obviously there's hacks happening. I think it was Experian or one of the bureaus got hacked, right? And those things, like for example, I personally use Credit Karma, so if anybody runs my credit or anything happens, I get an alert right away. So the question I want to propose, is there anything in the medical field that basically can reflect closely to that, so that if your data is stolen and it is being somehow used, whether it's at a pharmacy buying drugs or whatever it may be, can there be alerts created so at least we know we're aware of it and can put a stop to it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think if you're a startup, it's going to be important to have a solution like that, some sort of PHI and HIPAA protection built into whatever your product and service is going to be key. People are going to be looking at that. They're going to want that, and they're going to want to feel safe. We're really tiptoeing into some unknown territory here, right? Like, you have the greeter at Costco asking you about your health information right now when you go into their buildings. You have maybe that coworker at your office asking you if you've been vaccinated. It might not be intentional, but lighthearted, but still, I mean, that's your protected health information. How do we get around those barriers? And if you have an answer for that as a startup, I think that's important. So go ahead, Ivo.
Yeah, I also think that GDPR is so important right now too. So as you're collecting information from your customers or audience data, I think it's important to be transparent. I think those are the first thing I think I would really, especially like you say, startups or whatnot, be transparent to your audience to make sure that they know, how do you use that data, whether you keep those data, and then whether it is for, marketing purposes or whatnot. I think those are key. I think security breach is also important. I think that if you guys could build a second, security, like an expert in terms of first or second first-party data, I think those are a key as well for you guys to kind of build upon that. I think it's important. For example, like we have this My Chart in our healthcare provider where you don't even have to come to your, hospital anymore. So you could do it via Zoom. Obviously, when you got sick, you just dial in, you get to an app, and you go into it. But that really scared me too. It's like all your data from your birthday to, you could name it Social Security, whether you get vaccinated or not, is on that My Chart. So I think it's important. I think that you guys should also have precautionary in terms of first or second party data to support that.
And the answer to your question, right? Mm-hmm. The databases are too fragmented to have one like Credit Karma, because a doctor would have a patient, then it goes to the pharmacy, goes to maybe the hospital, a surgeon. Everything's separate nowadays, right? Nobody does one. So if someone hacks one, they could hack into the others. There's no like one database like Experian where you can get a credit signal, I think. I think people don't realize, I just read about this, probably know, I have no social media presence. My company has none. We made a decision. We're on LinkedIn, and we're glad we did that. A couple of things, negativity, but I just read that people are getting your personal information off your social media. You spread information about, I'm sick, I got cancer, I got something. They're scraping that data and use it against you. So it is use it at your caveat, but it's another source of protected data because you think it's protected, but you're telling people, your friends, I've got something, correct? And then that's public. So there's another FYI for you folks. I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Yeah, you can lose a lot through nefarious actors doing data mining through a lot of things, Facebook, for example, and getting a profile on you that they can use to build a whole picture. There's definitely room for improvement in things like encryption, but hackers can find a way into almost any system. A lot of times it's post-decryption into a computer that you're using. That is, if it's connected to the internet, is suspect as a potential weakness. One thing it seems to me is you want to maybe have this could be a blockchain type of application if you could spread out a lot of the information. It seems like the value proposition to a lot of the hackers is to find some database that's got 250,000 profiles on there that can be used for a variety of things, identity theft and so on. The smaller you can make those pieces, keeping them diffuse, the less value the hackers would see, and you take away some of their financial incentive.
And just from a regulatory stance, right? Like you're starting your company, it's very small, you have this vision, you know what you want to do. As you scale that up internally, how can you ensure that everyone on your team and your teams of teams understands the importance? It's documented, right? Because when you're negotiating different contracts through the various, the GPOs and whatnot, they're going to want to see that not only have you done it, but is it documented? So it's just kind of, once you kind of map that out and those opportunities come up and the light kind of shines down, you get these brilliant ideas, just making sure internally you can check those boxes because, when it comes to acquisitions or, those next step in contract, things they're going to look at is, yeah, you're protecting it well, here's your system, that's really cool, but are you checking that box and you have that vision on what it is and the importance, but does the rest of your team, and as you scale up, it's going to get harder and harder, but if you just have those fundamentals at the beginning, it's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
The interoperability question. There are a lot of EMR data sets being brought together around person X, Y, and Z's persona. And so that's going to push back a little bit of what William was saying about disaggregating the data sets. So we have all this data together as a result of interoperability, what ONC is doing, all of that. Does it make sense to address that problem at the architecture level? So you separate the personal identifier data from that individual's health and care data. So they're in two different places. So if he hacks into the personal identifier data, okay, that's somewhat bad, but it's not as bad as he hacked into if those two data sets were connected. Just interested in your reaction to that. It sounds like a crude but somewhat, at the same time, elegant solution to the problem.
Yeah. What's your name, sir? George. So George, basically, for any of you who might not have heard, so we have a big issue with siloed data in our industry in healthcare. Like he was talking about EMRs, I think, specifically, and kind of how each EMR has its own data, right? It's very hard to unsegment that. And his idea was if we were to de-identify people's personal information, would we better be able to share that data across EMR systems or other repositories or places where we're warehousing that data? And that's a great idea. I mean, and I think I'll go first. That would be fantastic, except healthcare data, even de-identified, is like the new currency right now. It's super valuable, especially to EMRs, especially to like the Edisons and the Epics and the GE and all those big boys. They see the value in that data and they're holding it really close to the chest. So I think we're a little far away from that right now. I don't think it's impossible. It's just really hard given the value of that data right now and how we're using it. But great question. I'll open that up to anyone else that has thoughts or feelings on that.
Well, I'd say there's room to improve that. Maybe improve the systems around it, the encryption and whatnot. But you'll never completely make it something that's impossible to get to. If for no other reason, if you separate the individual data from the medical data, that's a great idea and a good start. But nefarious actors today with the power of data mining, which is really quite remarkable, the things you can learn with those techniques, they'll be able to put that back together. But my thought is the more you can break things up, the more you raise the bar.
Yes.
I just wanted to comment, it's not just, you pointed out Epic and Server and some of these large EMRs that are the targets. I had one client a few years ago, a hospital that I worked with, that had their system completely shut down in a ransomware attack, and it happened because they did not keep up with their Microsoft updates, the patches.
That happens.
And it was a very simple thing they could have avoided. And at the time, ransomware attacks were relatively rare, and I think it was sort of a test. This organization only requested $25,000. They did it in Bitcoin, which was very difficult at the time for the hospital to get a hold of. But the ultimate damage was over $3 million to get their systems back up and running. And it could have been avoided by just some simple software updates. So that's one thing. And then, Scott, I think you mentioned having documentation of training. It's incredibly important that you do HIPAA compliance training for all your new employees and have an ongoing program and have a document. That's something that I have all of our consultants do on a project before the project starts, and we do it on every project, just to make sure that we're covered.
So related to that is identifying the threat before they happen, right? If that's done, so we have a startup. I'm not pushing it, but what it does, it identifies the potential threats, internal and external. So it would identify that. But we found when going to companies, they don't pay for that. They said, I've got firewalls and everything else. They're going to hack us anyway. But if you identify, for example, a third-party contractor that has the open node or whatever it's going to be, right? And you can fix that, then you can focus on more compliance, more documentation. Because again, a simple threat assessment would have found that software patch was out of date. So I beg people to consider that, do a threat assessment of your own, figure it out. That's a very simple step. What are our weaknesses? How many of our subcontractors have passwords into our network system? Do you really trust them? I wouldn't. They have access, but you get access all the time. You got contractors coming in, right? On-site, off-site, password into your network. Bad actors can get in.
Blockchain, technology like that could be part of the solution.
It can be, but they still, if they access to your system, they access your blockchain.
We need to be much more foundational than that and how we're protected.
That's what I'm saying. You have to do the threat assessments of your systems. It's worth it either your own or hire a good consultant or somebody. Identify before it comes in, right? Security consultants will come to your house if you want to hire and say, okay, put a fence here, put a camera here. That's a threat identification for potential. Companies should do that. Don't rely on the standard, firewalls and encrypted, because that's old technology. Because hackers are one step ahead of them. Identify before, be proactive. Identify where it's going to be, and make sure you cut off all the access and passwords to your contractors and third parties. A lot of people forget; they leave it in there. I mean, that's standard because they're too busy. I'm sorry, throw it back to the panel.
Yeah,
those are just common sense things I'm bringing up.
Good point. So for anyone who, again, didn't hear, he was talking about a hospital system that was held ransom for like $25,000 worth of Bitcoin through a hack, which is kind of hilarious. That kind of reminds me of like the Austin Powers movie. Remember when Dr. Evil's frozen for like a bunch of years, and he comes back and he's like, I'm going to blow up the world unless you pay me $1 million. Anyways, it sounds like that was probably somebody's like 14-year-old child that decided to hack a hospital and get some college
tuition.
tuition.
Right? Is the Bitcoin worth how much? Now $30,000 or something?
Because that's like what, like 2 quarters worth of college tuition, maybe.
Back then.
Yep.
Yeah, something like. So they got to step their hack game up a little bit.
I wish I was that smart.
Yeah. So, anyways,
how much time we got left?
Oh, I think we had another question.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just want to throw maybe a curveball to the whole conversation here, because I'm going from the side of an RPM medical device company startup also, right? And what we're handling data because our device is picking up biometric information from patients and multiple modalities at the same time, right? So one of the things that we're doing, kind of in the direction that William was saying and the rest of the panel, what we're doing is that we're breaking that information in a blockchain. So as soon as it goes out of the device, it goes into blockchain technology, right? And Now we give the power of the data management as if it was Bitcoin to the user, right, to the patient. And the patient owns that information. Now we are allowing the patient to monetize on top of that, right? So we're trying to change the balance from all these big companies trying to manage your data to giving the power back to the user. So I'm just saying that there are companies like ours that are looking at the problem in a complete different dimension, that we're not trying to become powerful by ownership of data, but allow the users to have that power back again. So there's a different a way of looking at things that might also be an alternative. There is no cybersecurity on blockchain as an inherited thing. So there is a cybersecurity effort that needs to go on top of it once you assemble that data again, right? But there's just different things that we can do to manage this problem.
No, I like that. I like giving the power back to the whole, the person whose health information it is.
Excuse me, Dan, can we get a time check? We'll make sure go to the next
Yeah,
topic.
we got like 5 minutes, so we got
go to the next topic, or just
Yep.
open for Q&A?
So what I'm thinking is we'll wrap up with one last topic here, and I'm just going to go down the list. And actually, since this gentleman just brought up RPM, I'm going to talk about AI in healthcare as the last topic, because AI is powering remote patient monitoring in a lot of ways, as well as other decisions in healthcare and outcomes and meeting the patient where they're at, trying to get ahead of chronic illnesses, and also major medical events before they happen, like stroke and heart attack and things like that, using data to predict down the line and not look in the rearview mirror, which is what we're trying to do. So I'll open that up to the rest of the panelists. Who wants to go first on artificial intelligence in healthcare?
Sure. I think you brought it up when we were chatting about that. And so prediction, right? We're going to try to predict if somebody's going to have cancer at, say, in 2-3 years. So the question is, that we talked about, is what if an insurance company or insurance companies get hold of that, and you're out trying to get life insurance, and they're going to use that data against you? Basically, is it fair? Is it not? Obviously, I know it's not fair. It is a prediction, and there is a chance AI is wrong, and you can't even get life insurance. So, or you might die from something else. But anyway, just want to bring that point up.
There's always the evil side of any medical advancement, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I think AI is really important if you use it correctly. I think, I think artificial intelligence now these days, I mean, if you look at it, if you could work on the algorithm, right? Take on the idea of the algorithm. How do you use it for your startups or your company, or for data, for example? I think there's a key for automation, I think, in terms of artificial intelligence. So I think if you use it correctly, I think it could be a big plus. Yeah. I see your point, the fact that it could also be used against you. But I think that as you use your startup company, whether it's enterprise or building up, there's an automation that you could create a cool algorithms to create some sort of a, first-party data, again, when you talk to your patients, for example, and an understanding what's going to happen, or prediction. Or even how do you automate some of those, again, customer data that we talked about from first to third. How do you connect them? So essentially you could create an automation that kind of goes directly with the algorithm. So I think it's a good plus.
Yep, fantastic. How much time do we have? 2 minutes. All right, so.
I can go real quick. So this ties into our talk about wearables. Remember, we had a phone conversation?
Wearables, yeah.
So tied in is AI could help with the people with wearables, because a lot of times they don't transmit the data anyplace to keep it to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's remote patient monitoring, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Right. But again, a lot of people don't send the data because they're afraid. But if that AI, they can maybe detect the arrhythmia, heart, some kind of when they're exercising within themselves, because it'll say, based on this, we predict, and you get to say, doctor. It's a warning sign. So it doesn't have to be intrusive with the data shared, but it could be just within your own technology. So it's all good.
Agreed. So I'll just add one quick thing to that. So,
is that our exit music?
Yep.
I think like Dracula's going to walk in here any second. Oh, there he is.
I think that's the icebreaker.
Exorcism.
There's a fast
icebreaker.
Now I completely lost my train of thought. Dang it. So, yeah, AI is great. I think it's awesome where it's headed. We can also, I remember where I was going now. So, appropriate care. So, maybe taking that data and saying like, hey, look, based on your vitals, maybe you don't have to go into the urgent care right away. Maybe come into the office in a day or two, or yes, you need to go in right away. So sort of like helping manage that appropriate care at the right time, at the right place, et cetera. So I kind of like that aspect of it as an investable technology. So, all right, well, I think that's it. She's looking at me. So thank you all so much. I don't know if we have time for another question, but if you want to talk to either of us afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
right,
Appreciate
thank you.
it.
Thank you, guys.
Guys.